Hey guys, my name is Tito. I make videos on personal finance on my other channel. On this channel, I do other things like today when I'll be recapping the finale episode of season 7 of the best web series on YouTube, Skinny Girl in Transit. Now, as a content creator, or as someone who makes videos and who has committed to recap a series every week, right, or to show up here every week, there are some times where I want to do this, and there are some times where I'm not in the mood. Today is one of the days where I'm not in the mood, so I'll try and get by this or get through this really quickly. And I'll also tell you towards the end of the video why I'm not in the mood to really create content right now, even though I am doing it. And that will also come in form of like a testimony. You see, today is Sunday, it's Easter Sunday that I'm recording this, and on the way to church something happened, but more on that at the end of this video. Let's dive into the finale, shall we? So I think at the end of the day, season 7 was, 10 or 11 episodes? And they tried to conclude lots of the storylines for this season in the finale, albeit in a very somewhat unsatisfactory way, in my opinion, because I didn't like how a lot of the stories for the characters ended this season, if I'm being honest. For example, Auntie Dupe and Mr. Charles. Mr. Charles breaks up with Auntie Dupe a couple of episodes back because of AY and the fact that AY doesn't like him. I honestly all season was expecting AY to save the day, to go and talk to Mr. Charles, which he does, but he does that off camera. They don't show us how he goes about it. They don't show us when AY has a change of heart and how he just essentially saves the day and brings Mr. Charles and his mom back together. They rob us of that, and instead what we see is Mr. Charles coming to Auntie Dupe's house saying that AY came to talk to him and he now wants to talk to Auntie Dupe. Seriously, after everything, we've been through with this couple, this is how they want to, seal things or rectify things between them? And then Editi and Didi. Let me take a drink. Editi and Didi, that too was quite disappointing, because that's one storyline that I was very keen on all season, to see how, or to hear what they would say when they eventually sat down to have a conversation regarding the fact that Didi doesn't want to have kids. I wanted to know why. We still don't know why Didi doesn't want to have children, and we don't know what Editi's position is on that. He's not happy about it, but what's the resolution? What's that conversation, which would have eventually been a very powerful and insightful conversation between Editi and Didi, never happened. Instead, what we see in this finale episode is that Didi leaves the house. She pretty much breaks up with Editi. Then his kids call the radio station. They go to the radio station to go and beg her. She accepts. Editi proposes again. He proposes again rather, and then she accepts, and they're back together. That seemed like a bit of a cop out, to be honest. Then there's Derry and Adeomi Swara, played by Kunle Remi. That was, I think, the most disappointing conclusion to a storyline this season. We still don't know what Derry's rationale was for wanting to have a child. Then she opens up to Deomi and says she doesn't want to raise a child alone. He gets up and he leaves. But we see him, that was last week, right? The last episode. And then this episode, we see him back, and it seems as if everything is all good and they're chummy and everything. Whew. Guys, it is now 2 days since I started filming this video. Today is Tuesday. PHCN will humble you. Where did I stop? Deomi Swara and Derry. I don't like how they ended things with two of them, because in the previous episode, Derry telling Deomi, was it the previous? Yeah, the previous episode, telling him that she doesn't want to raise a child by herself, and then him walking off. And then in this episode, she's just, he comes back and he's just cool with everything. It just wasn't tidy. It wasn't tidy. It was a big deal, and the whole basis of their relationship is the fact that she wants him to donate sperm so that she can raise a child by herself. When you take the child factor out of it, okay, what's up between two of them? We know very little about the relationship between Derry and Deomi. Another thing is, I think it would have been better if they left things with Deomi in the previous episode, the girls' night episode, where she calls him and it's a woman that picks up. They should have left it there, and they shouldn't have shown Deomi or brought him up in the finale, because that way we'll be looking forward to why a woman picked up Deomi's phone, when they start the new season, season 8, whenever that will be. So the way they built up the whole Dairy and Deomi thing, only to just let it end the way it did without an explanation, was very, very disappointing to me. If you've been following these reaction videos, you know that I've been very keen on that particular storyline and finding out more about why Dairy wanted to raise a child by herself. And I was interested, seeing how Deomi got on board with the whole thing. Now that Dairy says she doesn't want to do it alone, what does that now mean for their dynamic? And what does that mean to him? Is he offended? What does he plan to do? Is he going to go into a relationship with her? Is he going to marry her? Are they going to date? There's so many questions around their storyline. Now, Wosilat saying that she passed her test, that came as a big shock. When Mommy Tiwa was celebrating her 100K subscribers, Wosilat comes in and says, oh, she also passed her test. How? How? Anyway, I guess I was wrong. Wosilat, by the end of the season, is still in school and she appears to be doing well. I didn't think it would happen. And Mommy Tiwa reaching 100K on her YouTube channel, congrats to her. I posted something on my Insta stories. I was like, please, Mommy Tiwa should show us the way. And what does she do? What's her content strategy? Finally, Tiwa and Mide, Tiwa takes her baby to the hospital. The baby has some kind of an emergency. Luckily, it's averted and, he's stabilized and everything. So, we thank God for that, I guess. And, Tiwa, we see Tiwa panicking and everything. And she decides that she doesn't want to raise her child by herself, with Mide going and coming while he prepares the foreign land or wherever they're going to settle, before they join him, And that was a huge theme for that episode, How that all ended, as you guys all know, was that Mide goes back into the car and he kisses another woman who we all assume is Grace Anini, played by Tana Adelano, who I must say, I don't think in the entire season, this season 7, I don't think she said more than 30 words. So, it's interesting. That's an interesting gig for her, not saying much, just looking pretty and getting paid. But yeah, it caught all of us by surprise, that final scene, Mide kissing another woman in the back of his car. I think that last scene, they'll pick up from it in season 8 as a dream. How it will start, and you can probably quote me on this, whenever they start season 8, is that, Tiwa will wake up from a dream, and that will be the dream, Mide kissing another woman, in his car, or Mide having an affair. So yes, I doubt if Mide is actually having an affair, because how would they explain that, really and truly? But I was happy that it happened, because to be honest, the fans of the show, they've taken this whole Mide thing too far. He's the dream man, and women that follow the show are so invested and so taken by the character Mide. So, and that, to be honest, it has been annoying me for a little while because I don't know, they're getting lost in the sauce and they think that that's reality, that, guys like Mide actually exist. Maybe they do, but they're very rare. And it's fine for women or people to dream a little and have a little bit of, a fantasy, but I just felt like it was getting out of hand. So I like this twist that they've thrown into the show and how it has made women see Mide in a different light. All in all, season 7 of Skinny Girl in Transit, I must say, ended poorly, in my opinion, because as I've been saying in these recap videos, they've been touching on so many topics like, Didi not wanting kids, or people who don't want to have children, people who want to raise kids on their own, i.e. Dairy, people finding love later on in life, i.e. Auntie Dupe and Mr. Charles, Mommy Tiwa being an influencer at her big age. Also, the Japa syndrome of Mide and Tiwa wanting to travel. There are so many themes and topical issues being addressed that were addressed on this season that just concluded. However, they weren't properly concluded or properly analyzed by the time the season was over. There's so many unanswered questions basically, and that really ticked me off. And it kind of felt like the season was a bit of a waste, because you threw out all these topical issues and all these discussion and talking points, but you don't eventually have the discussion. You don't eventually address those issues head on to bring some kind of a conclusion to any of them. And that really hurt. And that brings me sort of to another thing about Ndani TV, and I wish Ndani would just have the balls. And you guys know I love you, Ndani. You know I'm one of your day ones, right? But a challenge I have with Ndani, and a friend of mine in America, slight detour, A friend of mine in America, I can't remember what Indani show it was, but she said she stopped watching Indani shows, and she's the one that brought it to my attention that if you notice, Indani never ends their shows, like never brings a conclusion to any of their shows. It just keeps on going, going, and going. Sometimes you don't even get a conclusion. Look at Phases, a show that I was really into, a show that had 2 seasons, but a show that most likely won't be coming back because many of the actors have moved on. Some have relocated. Tosin has relocated to the UK. Buki has relocated to Canada. And from what I heard, the interest for the show to be picked up for a 3rd season just wasn't there. So we're not going to get a 3rd season for the show. Game On, I think, has had 2 seasons. We're still waiting for the 3rd one. Name me an Indani show that has had a conclusive end to it. You know how Game of Thrones had a conclusive end, Friends had a conclusive end. Some of our favorite shows, they have a conclusive end. Even Insecure, it has a conclusive end. We know how things ended up for the main characters, right? Name an Indani TV show. And Indani has been around for over 10 years at this point, I think. I think they started 2012. Name for me an Indani show that had a conclusive end where they put a full stop to the story. There is none. So it feels like we're just being carried along for the ride without a destination in mind. And that hurts. And I think with Skinny Girl in Transit, to be honest, the final season should have been the season where it ends with Mide and Tiwa, after they get engaged and they go and tell Mommy Tiwa that Tiwa has said yes and they're going to get married. I think that should have been, I can't remember if that was season 4 or 5, but that should have been the final season. But they keep on coming back with new seasons. With new seasons, largely because of you guys, the fans, because you guys keep on asking for the new season of Skinny Girl. You keep on pestering them about it, and you don't watch the other shows that they create. You in the comments of all those shows or in the comments on their Instagram posts and whatnot, you keep on saying, when is Skinny Girl coming back? When is the new season of Skinny Girl? Da 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 da. And Indani caves to the pressure, and they create a new season which they probably never even had the mind or the intention to. So the viewers or the fans of the show are part of the problem, to be honest. But I think Indani too needs to put their foot down and say here and no further, to be honest, because I don't know what's going on. It seems, and to be honest, in the comments of the episodes and even in the comments of some of my reaction videos, people have said that, look, this thing just needs to end. It's not making sense anymore. It seems to have lost the plot and they don't know what's happening and it's not the way it used to be. I mean, and shows are never how they used to be at the beginning. Things evolve and change over time, but it just seems like it's not fluid. It's not flowing properly, and I think I finally come to that frame of mind or that thinking with this end of the season that felt a bit rushed and unsatisfying unsatisfying. Yeah, but that's that about that concerning the finale of Skinny Girl in Transit Season 7. Question of the day. What did you think about the season? Forget about everything I said. Don't let my thoughts influence you. What did you think about Season 7 of Skinny Girl in Transit? Let me know in the comment section down below. That said, I did say when I started filming on Sunday that I'd share a testimony, right? So Sunday was Easter Sunday, and that morning I was heading to church on the Lekki Expressway. I was driving, and from nowhere, this guy comes. He's trying to cross the road at one of those junctions. I think it was the junction where you come out of Freedom Way to join the express, that portion. But I was on the express heading down the road. But just to let you know what portion of the express that was, right? So I was about to cross that intersection. The light was green. I was going at a decent speed, not like super fast. Then all of a sudden from the right, a guy is trying to cross. While we have a green light, a guy is trying to cross with his bicycle. And these things tend to happen in like 1 or 2 seconds, in like a split second. So I see him coming, and when that kind of thing happens, the pedestrian, or in this case the cyclist, is trying to figure out whether he should stop in his tracks or try and make a run for it and make it. And as he's thinking of that, me, the driver, I'm trying to calculate what he's going to do so that I will know that if he's going to cross, I will go this way and go behind him, or if he stops in his tracks, I will continue going forward. So I'm trying to figure out what he's trying to do. Luckily, he stops in his tracks, but I still swerve a bit. I slam my brakes, and then I make it across. I continue going forward, right? All this happens in like a split second. I must admit, I was on my way to church, but regardless, things just happen really quickly and your reflexes just take control. I did extend my hand out of my window and I gave him a very satisfying 5-finger greeting. And I said 1 or 2 curse words. And, I smelt when you slam the brakes and the gray smoke comes out and you perceive the burning rubber. I smelt the burning rubber after I had passed him and everything. Just to give you an idea of how incredibly tense and close this whole situation was. That guy came, I mean, in that second, I looked at him, he looked at me, and in my mind, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm going to claim a life right now. My world is about to change, and this guy's life is about to end. Luckily, it didn't happen. I keep on going, and by the time we get to the next junction, right, a car who was behind me when the thing happened, he comes to my side, and he just extends his hand and he gives me a thumbs up to say, like, I did well, that I averted that disaster well. And I honked my horn and I told him thank you. But it was traumatizing and I was shaking. I got to church, I parked, I sat in my car for a while, I was shaking still, got into church, I was still shaking. And this is Easter Sunday, by the way. And I'm a worker in church. I sat down and I was like, I don't want to work today because my mind, I'm just frazzled over the whole experience. But, as God would have it, we were a bit short-handed in my department. So I had to work essentially, and God got me through it. But it was just it was a traumatic experience, to be honest. So yeah, that happened. I came back home, tried to film this reaction video. I started filming it, and then PHTN did what they did and they took lights. So that's why I was a bit frazzled at the beginning of this video. Yeah, it's a testimony because my life and the trajectory of my life would have changed on Sunday, on Easter Sunday. Literally, the trajectory of my life would have changed. I would have been talking to police. I could have been exploited because we know Nigeria and how Nigeria, the legal system and the police and even families of victims sometimes try and exploit the situation and everything. And, not to sound insensitive, this guy too, at the worst, would have been in hospital with serious injuries. That's best case scenario, actually. Worst case scenario, he would have been terminated. I thank God and I'm very grateful, and I kind of have a new lease on life and being on the roads, I look at things very differently. And when they say that life can flash before you like in a twinkle of an eye and your life can change in a second, it's all very true because it happened so fast. And in that moment, so many things went through my mind. I'm just very grateful. Thank God, God gave that gentleman the wisdom to stop in his tracks, because if he continued moving, rather, I may not be here today doing this video. Anyway, I'm grateful. Father, I thank you. I'm just grateful. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this very different reaction video that has gone on longer than I planned for it to go. Like I said, leave me a comment in the comment section down below to let me know what you thought about this season of Skinny Girl in Transit. Like the video by clicking on the like button. Share this with anyone who you feel may enjoy it. And yeah, this is a new month and a new quarter at the beginning of April. There's lots to look forward to. My friend Adenike Esho, she has a film coming out on Netflix. Congratulations, Adenike. It's called Chemistry, but it's spelled in a different way. I should be interviewing her soon about the movie. I think it comes out in the middle of this month, April. And I will be reviewing that. That'll be an interesting review. Kilboro is also coming out this month. I've already filmed the review because I was at the premiere. I'm also yet to edit the review of, well, honestly, I'm yet to film and edit the review of Beast of Two Worlds. Thank you guys so much for watching this reaction video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you in the next review of whatever film I will be reviewing. And I guess I can now retire my Skinny Girl in Transit hoodie. Thanks, guys. Catch you in the next one.